What up, and greetings. Welcome to another Hearthstone card review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the next 4 cards that Blizzard released regarding Whispers of the Old God expansion. The first one of them is called Infested Tauren. It's a neutral minion for 4 mana. You get a 2 free body, so whoa, that's so bad. But when it dies, it summons a 2/2 slime. It's worth noticing that this slime doesn't have taunt, so it's no sludge belcher with 4/7 worth of stats of taunts. Then again, it only costs 4 mana, unlike sludge belcher that's 5. So you could compare it to Dustingo, Sen'Jin Shieldmaster, or Arcane Nullifier X21, which shares the same stats. In the end, it's a 2/5. Arcane Nullifier is a 2/5 worth of taunts, whereas this is only 2 free worth of taunts. So in a matchup against aggro, this probably wouldn't be as helpful because the opponent doesn't have to go through 5 health worth of taunts. The only thing that it has really going for it, and the advantage that it has over Arcane Nullifier, is the fact that it comes in 2 parts. So cards like Twisting Nether, Brawl, or Doomsayer Frost Nova won't affect it that much because you're always going to get that 2/2 slime. I, looking at this card, think that it's quite bad because if you think about the fact that if you don't have a ping or anything to support this card, it will trade evenly with a 3/3. 3/3 is maybe 2.5 mana worth of value. So looking at it this way is quite bad. You know, if something changes its mind, you're going to cry your heart out. And as Arcane Nullifier proved to us when it was coming out, people were sort of predicting that it's going to be played over Sen'Jin Shieldmaster, but it wasn't because 2/3 just doesn't trade with enough stuff, because free attack is sort of the minimum you want to get for taunt, I think, in order for it to be any valid in actually destroying the board rather than just stalling the game, and having the opponent trade into it. Yeah, I don't think this will be played unless ladder changes just incredibly after Old Gods are released and all the cards have been changed. I have no faith in this card being played. As Crit once put it, cards that are balanced or good won't ever see play on ladder. Ladder is for cards that are overpowered and incredibly insane, and this is neither of those things. It sort of falls into the same category as Stand Against Darkness. We can't have all amazingly interesting cards in the set because then there won't be no contrast. And luckily, the next card coming up is just that. It is crazy! The name of this card is Herald Volazj. Volazj? Not too sure about that. Is a priest legendary minion for 6 mana, 5/5. With Battlecry, when it comes into play, it summons a 1/1 copy of each of your other minions. You can think of it as a faceless manipulator's dad, I guess. It's one of the cards that I'm super excited to see in Priest, because Priest, in my opinion, has the access to the most amazing random cards and cards that just, do crazy effects and bring a lot of fun to the gameplay in Hearthstone. With this card and possibly a faceless manipulator, you can mass summon things like Ragnaros or Sylvanas, Sneasel Shredder if you're planning on playing this in Wild. What I think is really amazing is that this card is not understated compared to something like a Mistcaller. It is a 5/5 stat for 6, which is not terrible. It's only missing 1 attack and 2 health on a Bodafist Ogre. Priest also has access to some crazy legendary minions that can synchronize well with this card. I think Palatros or even Velen could make some amazing plays together, but we also have to wait until more of the cards from Whispers of the Old Gods are revealed, because some of them might make crazy situations happen with this card. I cannot wait to play it. I cannot wait to try it in Randuin, but I think that it could potentially work in constructed decks as well. I'm definitely going to be crafting a golden version of this card. Herald Volazj, get in here! The next card on the list is called Doom for You. It's called Doom. It's a Warlock spell for 10 mana, destroys all minions, and then you draw a card for each minion that was killed. So like a Twisting Nether, but you draw a card for each minion that was killed for 2 extra mana. Is this any good? Warlock has 4 board clears: Demon Wrath, Hellfire, Shadow Flame, and Twisting Nether. And now none of them are going away in the rotation. Yeah, all of them are expansions that are staying. The only one that is closest to getting rotated out is Demon Fire. that is not going to be removed for a bit. Now, which deck archetype would use this? Zoo won't use it because Zoo doesn't have cards for 10 mana, doesn't have a need to have a board clear for 10 mana. Handlock will probably not use this unless something significantly changes, because Handlock just needs to survive those pesky little minions. Hellfire and Shadow Flame is plenty for that. 4 board clears in a deck is enough for Handlock, 2 of each. But Reno, because it can only play 1 of each board clears, might possibly find use for this card. From my experience playing Reno Jackson, I've sometimes been digging for another board clear. I was hoping to get that Twisting Nether because, you survive until turn 8. But then it's problem to draw into your Molten Giants before you die and then drop your Reno Jackson. You just have to have the consequence of things happening quite in a good manner. Now, with this card, you might potentially help this, but what's it not going to help you against is those fatigue matches against priests and warriors that you're going to just straight out lose, because as a Reno, you're already tapping quite a lot. You probably don't need to draw too many cards. As a matter of fact, sometimes with Reno, I'm just a handful of cards with answers. I'm just waiting to draw into everything I need so I can start dropping it. But essentially, I almost need to drop a card to not have my hand full. So destroying everything and drawing cards for it is not big of a use. But at costing 10 mana compared to Twisting Nether that is 8 mana, it doesn't seem like it's significant, but it's actually quite a lot. Because what you're hoping for is in those, let's say, 7 cards that you're drawing to draw into Molten Giants, which you then drop. But that's it. You cannot do anything, and you're basically giving the initiative to the opponent. With Twisting Nether, if you have those Molten Giant in hands, and they're for free, you can Twisting Nether, double Molten, and then Toned Up. And that is a massive, massive difference, I think. And with any 10 mana cards, like Varian, like, Cthulhu, and just in general, even 9 mana cards are very, very hard to play for this very reason. And very few of them see any play, like Ysera, because they give you something on the turn that they played. But the turn that you play them, they're essentially the only card that you can play, the only action that you can do, even if you're at full mana. And that is a big, big deal, I think, that people don't sometimes realize. They look at a card and they're like, oh, it's crazy. Yes, but it's 9 or 10 mana. Like, that's the deal. That's the massive difference. So, might get played. I am not sure. We have to wait for that. An interesting card, but doom for me. I don't know if it'll be gay. Next card on the list that we have, while we're at those crazy expensive 10 mana Warlock cards, we have a neutral minion for 1 mana. How's that? 1 mana, 1/1. Enzo's Tentacle. Hey, how are you? When I die, I deal 1 damage to all minions. Like Unstable Ghoul. Unstable Ghoul is going out. See me coming in? Yeah, it's a sort of a replacement for Unstable Ghoul or Explosive Sheep. It is not exactly the same, and by no means it should be. Is it worse? Maybe. It's a lot different. So you can think of it as a whirlwind on a stick, or potentially a trigger of Death's Bite that stays on board. Whirlwind has the advantage, of course, of being triggered whenever you want it. You pay 1 mana, you trigger it instantly. You don't get 1/1 worth of stats. Does that really matter? Not always, but having that 1/1 body, sometimes it might be good. This is very, very good against aggro decks, because aggro decks will have to trade with it, as good as they can straight away, because the more they play, the more 1 health minions they're going to put on board, the more stuff is going to die. So they have to figure out a way to play around it. They have to clear their board off of some stuff that they won't like, but that's your advantage against them. You're putting this on board for them to make the least good play that they can possibly do. If you drop something like, this and an Acolyte of Pain on turn 4, then they're definitely gonna kill the Acolyte of Pain with something that has free attack. They'll try if they have something, and then they'll kill this, In result, you will draw a card, and they will probably lose a lot of their stuff. But they'll have to do it, because otherwise you draw Patron, and you just wreck them totally next turn. So very good against aggro. Will it replace Whirlwind in Patron Warrior? It might not, but it might work with it. You see now, Warrior is losing Death's Bite, which is one of its strongest cards, and essentially losing 2 extra Whirlwinds in their decks. This might work as a replacement. So instead of doing Deathspite hit and then playing Whirlwind to spawn a lot of patrons, you will play this, and then you'll Whirlwind, you'll kill it, you'll do 1 damage, and then 1 extra damage to everything, you'll draw a lot of cards, you'll buff yourself for extra armor, you spawn more patron, you'll buff your Roving Berserkers, and all that good stuff. It might really work well, and I don't think this card gets enough credit for what it's worth, because I do suspect aggro to get out of control in this expansion unless we get a lot of healing tools and a lot of, early game minions like Zombie Chow or Unstable Ghoul or Explosive Sheep, sort of like Enzo's Tentacle is. Aggro might just be crazy out of control and we might just be facing one face shaman after the other. So cards like Enzo's Tentacle is sort of keeping them at bay, I feel. This card also can appear from cards like Dark Peddler and Mounted Raptor, for what it's worth. You can put it in your Hunter deck and summon it through Desert Camo. A Wild Control Hunter deck appears. Anyone? I think it could be really cool. It is a pseudo Unleash the Hound, so that it does 1 damage to everything, and it just costs 1 mana. It could potentially help Hunter to survive until he can play his lock and load shenanigans or whatever Control Hunter does. I don't know, I haven't seen a useful one. Anyway, so Enzo's Tentacle or N'Zoth's Tentacle? I am actually not too sure. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching again. I'm sorry I only did 4, and I know there's a lot cards that came in between. I will get to them on Sunday, I promise, and on Monday I'll post a long video with as many cards that I will have the chance to record about on Sunday. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more, and until next time, bye! Take care!